It is time to build our first mission file. After reviewing the main elements that construct the mission file itself, we will build a simple flight plan where we will fly from Seattle Tacoma International Airport to Bremerton National Airport. These are two airports that are quite close to each other for the sake of this tutorial. In this first part of building the skeleton of the mission, I suggest to copy a working mission and remove all the flight legs, triggers, messages, elements, and just keep the header of the mission. Let's take a look. I created a clean slate file and I opened one of the mission I downloaded. I will copy everything, save it, and then start to remove what I don't need. For example, embedded scripts I don't really need. I can remove everything. Inventories I don't need. This one I don't need. It is much easier to just collapse. Okay, so we can see the overview of the original mission file. I will delete here everything. We'll just keep this one. End mission is fine. Object templates are 3D objects. Not going to use them. So yeah, let's see. We have the header. This is the mission element, the main element. The version we do not touch. The name, we'll call it tutorial 01. Oh, already. Okay, this is going to be also our saved game. Title tutorial 1. Designer mode, we can tick it as change it to true or yes. This is good only for designing, but once you want to publish, you need to remove this attribute, or just to change it to no, or remove it. It's the same as no. So I will change it to yes. Information, the element information, we need a PNG file. Okay, this is going to be our thumbnail. Okay, rating by SAR, plane description. Okay, light general aviation, estimate time. This is just an estimation. Difficulty, scenery settings. We don't need any scenery settings, so we can just remove it. Weather settings, the same. And okay, we basically removed most of the attributes that relates to the mission information. We will change it as we move forward. Global settings, we can leave it as is. Start time, you might want to change the starting time, the day of the year, so we can change it to, I don't know, 185, whatever. I want it to be 8 o'clock in the morning. Okay, this should be fine. Let's leave the designer element in comment. And briefer, let's fill in this information. So hello world, just for the sake to write something. briefer starting ICO will be KSCA starting leg. Which leg is going to start? Right now I don't have anything. Location adjust. No, let's give the sim to decide where we will start. Okay, so we have a skeleton of a mission file. It is not a valid skeleton, we cannot run it, but we should be able maybe to see it in our mission briefer picker screen. Before we will do that, let's see. I predefined a mission folder pack by the name tutorial01. I created the briefer, which is a mandatory folder. There are already few images. This is a really simple something that I created, very quick. The name of the file is tutorial01png, so let's make sure that our okay, so now let's try and open and see if we can see this mission in our okay, here it is. We can see that the mission detail is tutorial 1 written by SAR, blah blah blah. Okay, what we filled in is written at this part, and this is the description of the mission. Hello world. So now that we have the skeleton, we can continue and add more elements. In the second part, we will configure a simple flight leg. I've changed the camera orientation to be an upper one. The idea is to move our plane from the starting location to runway 34C, and then we will send the message to the simmer. So let's take a look at our tutorial file. We need to add a new flight plan. We can copy from, let's say, from one of our previous missions. Here it is. We have a starting and closing element. Inside the flight plan, we need a flight leg. We need to give it a name. Let's call it runway 34C. Nothing special. And we will close it. Okay. So we defined the skeleton of the flight plan. Now we need to add a little bit more information here. So let's look at our designer guide and let's go to the leg. So a leg need a title. Okay, it's not mandatory. We have a name. And next leg. Okay, next leg we don't have yet. We need to define description. Here it is, description, and an objective, link to objective. So we can just copy it from here. description, taxi to runway 34C. We have the description of our leg and link to objective. Let's copy this part also, and we need to change the name. The objective is runway 34C and I don't know, OBJ for objective. So yeah, I think we have what we need just for the objective. Do we want to send a message? Yes. But let's wait a little bit with messages. Just want to make sure that we have what it needs to have a flight plan. So now let's add in objective. So let's see. We can go to the menu again. We have leg. Here, objectives. What are the mission objectives? Great. Objectives. And it has a little bit more information and an example. So let's pick from here objective. Let's copy it. And I'm pasting it inside the flight plan. Okay, because it's belong to the same flight leg. The objective name I can copy from the name I defined in the flight leg. Okay, and we will close it. Great. I forgot one thing. An objective should be enclosed inside an objectives container. Okay, so if we want the full, we should say objectives here and objective. So now we can have one or more objectives. An objective needs to have the task. Now our task is basically the runway 34C. So let's create a task. Let's see what it is saying here about task. Okay, it has all these different attributes. You can just copy the task from here. It's going to be a long one. Okay, our task name will be runway 34C task. Title, not really important. It's for the designer only. Depends on tasks. Right now it depends on nothing. No task. It's the only task. Are we going to base it on a trigger? Probably yes, because we want the event to trigger when we reach a certain location. So trigger is a great option here. I'm going to delete the other information. According to the colors, something is missing here, but we will find out in a minute. Based on trigger. The trigger name will be, let's call it RW34C trip. When the plane reach this specific location, the 34 center runway, do we want to send an immediate message, or do we want the plane to be at least a certain amount of seconds inside this area to make sure that it is inside the area itself? So I can leave it 2 seconds. Once the plane will be 2 seconds in the area, then it will flag the task as success. Mandatory, yes, it should be mandatory. mandatory. Force evaluation. Even if we flag the task as successful, do you want to continue and test it? No, I can leave it as it. Once it's successful, that's it. Flag it as a success, don't test it again. Okay, so we have our flight leg definition, and we have a link to an objective. The objective that we have also defined the action or actions that need to take place inside this objective. That's it. I think that this is enough. We should now define the missing element, which is the trigger, and if we want, we can add the message itself. So now we need to create our trigger. So let's go back to our designer guide and let's find triggers. Here, trigger and triggers. So trigger should be inside triggers element, and here are the trigger definitions. So let's create the triggers element. Again, it is easier to just check what was defined in other file. Okay, I can copy a trigger from other file because there are all sorts of nitpicks inside the trigger, and then fill in what is relevant for us. So trigger name. The trigger name we already defined here in the task. So just copy paste it. Is it going to be a radius based or polygon based? For the sake of this specific example, we will use it as a radius based. Any special condition? Yeah, we want the plane to be on ground. That's enough. So change it to yes. Any condition script? No. This is really old. Don't need the event, and we don't need the message. Okay. So what do we have here? We have conditions and we have outcome. So the outcome should be, let's see, message name when fired. Message name when fired, we want to send a message. Let's call it reached 34C message. And we don't really need anything else. There are other options. Okay, we can say call a script or fire a command or change a .ref parameter, but we are not going to do any of that. We just want to send a simple message. Now the second part of the trigger, after defining the conditions and the outcome, relate to the physical area of the event trigger. So there is a point, okay, there is a point, a coordinate in explain world that we need to provide. Now there are a few options to do that. I will show one of the options from how to use it from explain with the help of the plugin. The other option is to just use Google Earth, but then you need to test whether the location is the correct one. So let's start with the example. Again, we want to find, let's say, if we have reached this area. So here is the trick. I just make sure that the plugin is in pause mode because we are not flying anywhere. We can taxi the plane, but instead of doing it, we will just zoom in. Even though it might look awkward, it can be very helpful. Click on your plane and just move it around and position it where you want it. Okay, here it is on runway 34 center. So now we need to figure out, okay, what is the location of the plane? So you can go to keyboards and plug in provided keyboards, and here you can see that in Mission X you have the designer node, and there is right camera coordinates and right plane coordinates. Because the plane is on the runway, we will bind it to, I don't know, whatever key combination you want. So Shift, Control and W. This will write it to the log file. So let's check this. Okay, so I will just click Control, Shift and W. You won't see anything here, but it is written to the log file of X-Plane. So I will open the log file. The log file is located at X-Plane installation folder, okay, at the root folder, log.txt. I open it in a notepad or other editor, go to the end, and there you will see information regarding the point or coordinates. Let's copy the whole line and replace it with what we have here. Okay, so we need the latitude, longitude, the rest, elevation, template and stuff. This is not really relevant right now. It can be useful in some other scenario, but right now I just need the coordinates. The radius of our area of effect. So we can just write, I don't know, 20 to 30 meters. Let's start with 20 meters. Elevation, do we need an envelope that the simmer or the plane needs to fly into? No, we are on ground, so this is not relevant to us in this specific case. So here we are, we have a trigger, an event area. The event area will be in that position on ground, and the area will be 20 meters. So yeah, let's save our work. The last thing that we need is a message, but before we will do that, I want to test something. So let's try now to load our mission, and let's see, we have flight leg. Oh, briefer needs a starting leg. So let's edit here. Yeah, we have our briefing, we have the starting flight leg, we have an objective. The objective is mandatory, so we are good. We have a trigger for that area. Let's try it in X-Plane. So let's see. Okay, so it's about time to test our tutorial mission file. We can open it, load it, and then press the start. If everything is valid, we can see that the position of the plane is not where we exactly want it. And if we go up, we can see that this blue circle, this should be our event area. We should have started something over here. Now the main reason for that is that the starting location is just KSEA. We did not define any location adjust. So let's fix that. Let's position our plane back Seattle. We see here gear ramp, start new. Now let's pick our location, Control Shift and W. I will now, let's open our log file, just as we have done before. Here it is, we can see the location. I will copy it over to the tutorial, and now I want to modify the location adjust. So I will pick the latitude and longitude, copy them over. Elevation, if you want on ground, leave it as 0. The plugin will figure out the location. So heading is also important in this case. Heading PSI. Okay, we can remove, save, and now let's go back to X-Plane and test. Let's quit our previous mission, reload the file, and start all over again. This time we are positioned where we want. If we look to the right, we should see here the blue circle. This is our event area. Let's go out and we can see it. Starting position, event area. Okay, let's move our plane to this position and let's see what will happen. So again, we can taxi manually or do the previous trick, which is open the map. I should not be too close because then it will be harder to move the plane. Okay, here it is. Now I'm going to move it manually. Let's see what happened. Move the parking brake. Seconds, and that's it. We finish the mission. There is no next flight leg, so automatically it calls the end mission, and this is why we see this. Again, let's look at our mission file. We have the leg, but we don't have next mission. Sorry, next flight leg. So it will just go to the end mission. If it was successful, then you will see the success part of this mission. And that's it for the first introduction of how to create our flight legs and how to define event triggers. We haven't sent any message, I know, even though we defined it. There is no message by this name, so it makes sense. During the next step, we will fill in the message and create another flight leg. Let's load. Aha! We can see that we do not see our tutorial. And this is a very nice case of let's check the log file and see what is wrong. Probably one of our XML element is not correct. So when you open the briefer, it reads all the files, and the one that you try here, it said something, quote or double quote expected at line 25, column 6. Okay, let's see if 25 is meaningful. Link to objective. Okay, I want to share a troubleshooting issue that I had during the first attempt to load the tutorial. It was not present and there was an error at the link to objective, even though syntactically everything was fine. What I did find was that first the encoding of the file was UTF-8. So I suggest not to use UTF-8. You need to encode it in ANSI. So let's see what happened during the tutorial itself. I copied from a PDF. Let's pick the line. Let's go back to our editor and we will paste it here. Now look at the difference between these two lines. The string coloring is wrong. Here it's green, here it's yellow. That was the first hint that something was wrong during the tutorial. So I rechecked the file itself and then I found out that the coding was UTF-8. So what I did was to encode it to ANSI. Look what we can see here. There are these strange symbols. So here is what I suggest. First of all, remove this line. Make sure that, I don't know, even press the convert to ANSI just to be on the safe side. Let's go back to our PDF. Copy the line again. And go back to our notepad. Paste. And now you can see these strange symbols. Now again, I'm using the Foxit reader. It doesn't mean that your PDF reader will do the same. I just want you to know or be aware of it. So we can now remove these strange symbols and it looks fine. There is another one. So I just wanted you to know, to summarize it, when you're copying from other sources, there might be other characters that are not supported in your editor, or at least our plugin is not able to read it and parse it, so it will fail. You should check your log file. Check your log file and try to understand what is wrong. In most cases, you will see the problematic line and it should hint for the issue. So I hope it was beneficial for you, and we should continue with the next tutorial.